In the early 1960s, the civil rights movement was gathering strength across the nation. The South was a battleground, and reverberations were felt here on our island shores. In the spring of 1964, 5 women from Martha's Vineyard, Polly Murphy, Nancy Whiting, then Nancy Hodgson, Peg Lilienthal, Virginia Mazer, and Nancy Smith were inspired to act. All were parents of young children, and they had the courage and conviction to undertake a long and dangerous drive south to Williamston, North Carolina, on a mission to register voters, join in efforts to boycott businesses engaged in unfair labor practices, and deliver much-needed supplies of food, books, and clothing.
All of the people I knew here were following Martin Luther King's course very closely and enormously interested and hopeful about it. King's relationship of politics and religion and nonviolence was really terribly exciting. Henry Bird, he was then rector at Grace Church. He was following the Southern Christian leadership movement very closely. He and Paul Chapman started going down to Williamston, North Carolina, the place that we wound up in eventually. They went down at Easter time, probably 62, and made some kind of protest and were jailed. And by this time, we were really following their course. It was so real. These were people we knew, we saw them. We really wanted to do something concrete here. It was a gathering sense that we could be of influence. For a whole year before we actually went, and certainly for a year after, our relationship to these people kept growing. They came to visit us. We raised a lot of money, and they came on a bus, and they stayed in our houses, and we had a prayer meeting in the old Whaling Church. And then they came more after we'd been down there. And there's a man named Golden Frinks, who was their local King's organization, Southern Christian Leadership leader. Funny, he was here, and he was a marvelous salesman, a very attractive, jazzy kind of guy. I'm sure he urged us to come and said how much help it would be. And several people said to us, I don't remember who, you know, this will make a big difference because you're women and you must dress very nicely, wear gloves and hats. And it will just drive these Southerners crazy because they have this big thing about Southern women and their chastity and all this stuff. And here you will come looking like them, but doing something very different. Golden Frink said, oh, women. He was just thrilled. And he said, they will just hate this. This will be wonderful. I think each of us by then independently arrived at the notion that we were willing to go. I can remember packing my suitcase and what to take. And we weren't going to go to jail. We were just going to take the food and the clothes and the things for the people. But I thought, well, I'll just take my harmonica along, I thought. I might need it. And I knew perfectly well that I was thinking about being in jail and that would be a handy thing to have. I didn't say it. We were careful with each other and with ourselves. The day before we left, I found myself over at the bank arranging to give my mother power of attorney. I never talked to the others about this, but I think each of us did a little quiet inside-out trip. We knew it was dangerous. We certainly knew that. We knew we might go to jail, and we didn't know if we'd come back alive. And I certainly thought it through very carefully before leaving, but quietly. I didn't talk to anybody about it. And what I wound up thinking, well, I wouldn't want my grandchildren to know that I had a chance to influence people in this way and turned it down.